So many things that we're trying to pay attention to. Is TikTok going to exist, or is it going to be banned? I mean, these are things that are out of a lot of our control right now. And I think that's a common way that people feel, that we do not feel in control. Welcome back to another episode of 3 for 3. I'm your host, Kurt Kleidon. Today's going to be a solo cast, which means it's just going to be you and me hanging out and talking about marketing. As we talk with our clients and just friends and people that want to know about what's happening within the field of marketing and how can it impact their organization or their business, this is the time of year where we are talking about strategy, we're talking about game plans, trying to figure out what's going to be the best and most effective and efficient way to get the right message out about your cause, what you're trying to tell people. And so it's a big reset button, it is for the beginning of the year for everyone in a lot of different ways. But marketing is no different. So what do people want to know right now when it comes to marketing? There's a lot of interference happening. There's so many things that we're trying to pay attention to. Is TikTok going to exist, or is it going to be banned? I mean, these are things that are out of a lot of our control right now. And I think that's a common way that people feel, that we do not feel in control of the very basic standards that we're used to. Is a channel going to be there? Is it going to go through massive changes? Is the way that it's presenting information going to be changing? This is all part of the discomfort we feel with marketing right now. And it's tricky. It's something that I think the best way to approach it is just to talk to people. Talk to your team, talk to others within your industry about what people are feeling and how they're paying attention to information. But what I can tell you is that there are some common trends, and there's some things that we can do right now as we're planning for this next year that will help us get the attention of people out there. At the end of the day, that's the main goal. Is we want to get people to pay attention to what we're trying to say, what we're trying to tell them, or things that we're trying to educate them about. And so some of these things are trends or topics that are new. They're completely new to what we're seeing in this coming year. Some of them are somewhat of a revitalization of where we've been in the past. And that's how trends go. They're all cyclical. So they come and they go. So the first thing that I think is worth you saying, this is an initiative that I should really try to incorporate within my marketing efforts this year, is to start or continue telling stories. So one thing that is really across the board that people are sick of, they're sick of advertising. They're really tired of being told what to do in this direct way, whether that's through an infomercial, whether that's through a social media advertisement. It's becoming just so much. Not only is it becoming really kind of annoying, and if you have any kind of streaming service, whether that's on a platform like a Hulu or a Max, or we're talking streaming radio, and you have to make a decision whether you buy the version that has advertisements or not. We are really at a tipping point where it is just becoming so frustrating and annoying to be delayed and to have to wait to get back to your show because the advertisement's on there. It's creating anger. So as you think about how you get your message across, really think about how you can tell a true, authentic story about what you do. And that is, for some people, that's easy. And there's a lot of easy ways for those stories to be told. And for others, it's not as easy. It's complicated. It's tough. It takes digging. It requires a lot of effort to be able to tell some of those stories. But really, if there's one thing that I've seen, and that is that any professional, anything that you're doing has the capability to tell a good story. That can be along the lines of education about what you do, what you know, and why you are an expert in that, and then really paying attention to it. We exist as a marketing agency because we look at scenarios and are able to say, hey, that's interesting. Let's focus on that. Because if we can do that, now other people are going to be interested in that as well. We can tell where the interest levels lie. It's hard to do that for yourself. That's something that it takes that outside perspective to be able to draw out things that are going to be really interesting. The more that you can evolve this within your communication channels, that could be through your email marketing, could be through your social media, could be through a public relations effort. That is something that the ability to focus on what you're doing and make it interesting within a story that's one thing that I really think that so many different businesses and organizations could focus on this year. It's not necessarily that new. It also comes along with the idea of saying, let's make sure we're authentic. Now, authenticity was a bit of a buzzword. I don't know exactly when it started. I want to say maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. And it's ironic because we talked about authenticity so much that even the phrase authentic felt like that was not authentic. You were just pulling that from something that you heard elsewhere. It's the same kind of thought, but we need to be able to say that we're telling our stories in a real way. Not something with a lot of makeup on, but here is what we really are, what we represent. So think about your mission, think about the different aspects, think about your staff and the people that are a part of everything that you do. That's your story. The impact that you have, whether it's your community or other businesses, that's your story. In hand with that, this is a good time to say, what's an extended platform that I can get my story across? So you're listening to this right now, most likely via a podcast. And several years ago, I said, I want to start a podcast so that we can tell our stories and we can help others tell their stories when I have guests on for interviews. Creating your own podcast is within reach. That is doable. There's lots of reasons why people say, I can't do this and I can't manage it, and we can help work through a lot of those ways. But that's something that if you have a story that can be told, especially when in an audible kind of way, now that is a great way to be able to tell an extended story. Because really you don't have limitations. It's not a 30-second commercial. You can go into different directions. You can investigate. You can dig in different directions. Frankly, as you're hearing my voice right now, you're going to come across very realistic in that way. And another way you can think about it is maybe this is the time to write your book. If you have had maybe a decade or two of experience what you're doing, I'm sure you could write a pretty darn good book about the things that you've learned along the way. And maybe it's not direct. If you are a furniture manufacturer, maybe the story of your book is not about your furniture, but it's about how you've become a better business leader, how you've learned things along the way, how you've created culture within your workspace. That has as much value as it does just talking directly about maybe what you want to sell or what you want to do. So that's tip number 1. So let's shift a little bit into what is new, what is brand new coming up for 2025. And of course, and if you've listened to the podcast before, you've heard me talk about AI quite a bit. AI, it's not new, but the ways it's being used is constantly changing. And here's what I want to recommend for you. This year, as early as possible, I want you to find out how your marketing agency or your marketing team is using AI. I want you to have a clear picture, and I want you to be intentional about this process. Because right now, AI can be trained to do just about anything that you want. maybe there's some limitations here or there, and I'm sure I can be proven wrong in certain areas. But there is so many different directions where it can go. Now, what I want you to decide as you're listening to this, in whatever leadership position that you're in, is to say, do I want to have my marketing team using AI to tell my story? Why and why not? AI can be a better source for telling a story, writing copy, sometimes creating images or video. It can be if you allow it, if you have good enough directors behind the scenes making that work. Now, I'll tell you this, if your marketing team consists of a couple of interns, there's nothing wrong with interns at all, but if it has people that may say, I'm going to just let AI do all the work, then you need to be intentional in saying, I don't think we are ready to have AI leading our marketing efforts. Now, our team uses AI almost daily in a lot of different tasks, and so we're really good with it. And we are really good AI query editors and writers, meaning that we're really good at communicating with the AI tools in ways that we're going to get results that are going to be the right kind of quality for our clients. And so you look at it with that perspective and you say, okay, yeah, maybe that does make sense. Because when it's done right, you can get content faster, which ultimately means that you can get content cheaper if it's done in the right way. Create your AI marketing playbook this year. Understand what it's capable of doing and what you're comfortable using it for. And you're welcome to have in that conversation your own hesitancies, your own ethics. You may say, this goes against everything that my organization, my company is about. So nothing falls in the AI bucket, but at least be intentional about it. I would then say to yourselves, all right, so create this AI identification chart. Understand what tools are out there. If you want to say no altogether to AI, hey, that's fine. At some point, you may change your mind. And it's worth you knowing right now what's available and what could have an impact on your organization, your business, whatever that may look like. You want to have that so that as things modify down the road, you're not trying to catch up in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months from now. Because your competitors, yeah, they're definitely using it to some capacity. Maybe they're using it in the right way, or maybe they're not. But understand that, identify it, define it for yourself, and then you can pursue it in the way that you need to. If you're working with a marketing agency, I absolutely think that you need to know how they are using it. You know, oftentimes, if you've got an agency involved, you're seeing maybe one or two reviews of whatever kind of work they're working on. And that you may have no sense for where that's coming from. And frankly, that could be coming from an internal team. They could be hiring out to, let's say, a content team in India, overseas, or something along those lines. You may not know about that. And I feel exactly the same about that, as whether that's coming from a content team in India or it's coming from an AI bot. Frankly, you should have control over that. You should know where that's coming from, because you want the quality at the end of the day. You want that to represent your organization, your voice, whatever that looks like, in a way that you have your stamp on it, because that's where it comes down to ultimately. Right now, we are looking at creating AI avatars to be able to put spokespersons, spokespeople out there in a way that is in an efficient way, so stories can be told, but we don't have to get a full camera video setup every time. So that's an example of how we're using it. But one of the things that we're doing along with that is absolutely, as that message gets carried across, is that we are saying, hey, this is an AI avatar, or this is a virtual avatar, or this is my AI doppelganger. There's a few terms that are being tossed around for that. So that we're not trying to pretend that we are presenting things not how they actually are in real life. So it's really important to understand that and know where things are coming from and how you're going to talk about that when it comes up. Okay, so that's my tip number 2. Okay, tip number 3. All right, so as the beginning of the year pops up, what do you do at home? This is the time to clear out things, right? You want to get organized. You want to get all that clutter that came around the holidays, put it away, get it in a storage box, get things back to a place where you can walk into a room and it is nice and clean and organized, right? At least that's how I feel about the beginning of the year. Take that same mindset and apply it to your social media game, okay? We've seen for the past decade all of these different social media platforms popping up. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Redno, Lemon. So the list goes on. And it's probably not going to ever really stop. As I mentioned at the beginning of this show, it's really hard to tell right now where things exist from. Are they going to continue to exist, and what kind of political influence is going to be had on that? So that's going to impact how you approach on some of these social media platforms. But what's happened is that brands have added until we have brands trying to be on every different platform, and sometimes it's with exactly the same post that you'll see from Facebook to Instagram and so on. Or sometimes there's enough attention paid to say that let's change this up. Let's actually pay attention to our audience. So it may be a similar type of topic that's presented on a platform, but it changes so that it's more personalized for that social media platform. Now's the time to start sizing down your social media channels. Find your true audience and base your platform on that. If you aren't familiar, you're listening to this, you're not familiar with who a primary audience identification is based on the social media platform, then your marketing team needs to know that. They need to be part of that conversation. They need to say that, yeah, we're on Facebook because the average age on Facebook is 52 years old. And we see more engagement from, let's say, a donor base that is female within Facebook. And that makes sense. Okay, we've now identified a reason why and who for the platform, and then that's going to deliver a what for your organization. This takes a little bit of discipline. So you may not like it. And you may say, hey, we've become TikTok famous and we want to keep doing it because of that. Okay, fine. That's fine. If that matches up with your mission and your goals, keep doing that and become famous on TikTok if you want to. But if it doesn't, it's just adding clutter to your audience and it's not resonating with them. Going back to that whole idea of becoming real and authentic and telling the right story for the right audience. And it is doing damage to your brand if you're putting stuff out there that's not on a platform that's ideal for you. So you may look at this at the end of the day and say, we still want to keep all these channels. But then say, are we actually telling the right story to the right people based on who your audience is on that particular platform? You want to make sure that you are navigating in directions that are meeting your business goals. So the key is not a one-to-one relationship between your marketing and sales. So you want to make sure that you're using these social media channels to getting attention and building relationships. That should be your focus for how you're telling the stories that we want to get the message out across. So number 1 and number 3 obviously have a lot of connections to them, telling stories and sizing down some of your social media channels. And number 2, the AI component can certainly play a factor in there depending on your philosophy and what you think is best for your organization. If you take a few of these tips and apply them to where you're heading this year, and by the way, this is all strategy. This is all what we do at the beginning of the year to understand where you're heading. If you do this, your outcomes are going to be intentional, and you're going to have a good sense for where you're heading and why. so that when things need to shift in mid-year, June, July, or whenever that may be, at least you know why you did this to begin with, and it makes it a lot easier to change gears, to change directions if you need to. Set these things up now and move forward in a direction where you know where you're headed. All right. Well, I hope you got some good stuff out of this. And if you have additional questions about any of these, feel free to reach out. We can talk about these ideas or concepts and make sure that you're heading where you want to be. That's what this year needs to be for you. Be where you want to be. Make the decisions and trust in the process. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.